Oh, we're on? Okay, no, I didn't hear no music. Okay, hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, come up with some ideas, solve some issues. I also am published on several websites. www.health-access.com, buyebluesky.com, and several other sites throughout the internet, so feel free to check those sites out, with articles on health, remedies, and general information going on worldwide and right here at home. This program is designed to help you keep your health and to show viable and inexpensive alternatives that can keep you and your family healthy, to alleviate or remove unwanted illnesses that may occur in our lives from time to time, making you aware that not all that's supposed to be safe is, and in some cases allowing you to understand the hidden dangers and possible solutions, prevention, or protection of your health. I've been in the health food industry as well as a personal consultant and bodybuilder trainer, assisting people finding health solutions, and have utilized different healing modalities from different cultural themes, as well as in herbs, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and foods. You can access me by going to my website at augmentinforce.com, AUGMENTINFORCE.com. I also do personal consultations as well, whether through the internet, through the IMs, phones, personal visits, as well as in-house workshops for families, individuals, or groups. On the augmentinforce.com page, there's a catalog link, which I'm going to try to update. The catalog link will have different things on there. They'll have t-shirts, we'll have the bucket. I thought it had it there, but it doesn't. But the bucket will be there, the flash drive, and DVD books on DVD, as well as other things that can help you. So feel free to peruse, check it out. If there's anything you need, give me a shout, send me an email. You also have a flash drive there, 32 gig flash with 30 gigs of information. You've got on the radio shows, interviews, books, databases, videos, all in one. So you can also get a hold of me here at 519-977-5351, or contact me via email at independz@yahoo.com, independz@yahoo.com. If you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to make them pertaining to the subject matter. The number is 208-935-0094. Today's date is July 22nd, 2017. I want to start off the show, let everybody know that on the Augment Enforce site, there's a couple new links there, brand new links. There's the May-June site is up finally, and we also put on there something brand new for those of you who are, on the search and looking for the information on the nano infections or the nano afflictions that you're feeling. It's on the bottom right column in the directory of content section called the nanotransformations. In there, there's 4 databases, if you will. Everything you want to know about nano but did not know what to ask. Neurotoxicity of nanoscale materials, nano productions, manifestations, resolutions and protections, clinical toxicities of nanocarrier systems. When that one there, the last one's about diatomaceous earth and nanosilica, because a lot of people are using diatomaceous earth, and the interesting thing about diatomaceous earth, it has never been actually tested. It was given a gras acceptance based on the fact that it was ubiquitous in nature. It was never actually tested, and when they were going to test it for animal use, they waived the test. When they were going to test it for other things, they kept waiving the test. And this is a nanoparticle. This is not just something that's just on a micron level. This is on a nano scale. And what it does essentially is a lot of people take it because they're using it for gut issues or whatever they're telling them to use it for. And actually, this is a silica material that has different types of shards to it, again on a nano scale. And what it does, literally, it gets into the cells and starts assembling a circuit. The research is there, and you'll see it. When it starts to assemble a circuit, it then looks for other nano silica material to attach itself to, and this does it without a program sequence or any kind of frequency activation. It doesn't naturally on its own. So what happens is your cells no longer are communicating with each other. In fact, it shuts down communications of the cells. So what can happen is it can if you got an issue going on, let's say in the colon, and you're using this stuff, all of a sudden you feel better because the signals that are coming from the colon indicating you've got a problem have now been shut down. Now, as a result, what winds up happening is you keep on deteriorating in the colon, you're thinking that whatever's going on is being taken care of. But in all reality, that's not the case. And nanoparticles have a tendency to translocate throughout the body, in the spine, in the deeper tissues. It gets to the skeletal structure, and it actually attacks the skeletal structure. This is why a lot of the autoimmune issues started to happen in the late 60s, because when they introduced this into the food supply in 1960, what wound up happening about a decade later, people started having problems with fibromyalgia. So people started having problems with lupus, other autoimmune system, restless leg, because what was happening was the autoimmune system was being activated because it was attacking the very core of the skeletal structure. A lot of people don't know this, and a lot of people don't understand this, but a lot of these supplements that you have today have silicon dioxide in them. A lot of pharmaceutical drugs you're using today have also silicon dioxide in there. They use it as a drying agent so that stuff won't get activated. But what happens is when you swallow that stuff with those components, it can either neutralize what you're taking in and basically shut it down, because again, if the cells can't communicate, then things can't get processed properly. Or it can, like I said, be transferred into the system. And to get that stuff out of your body is a royal chore. Because, like I said, it is on a nano scale. You are going to need sulfur. You are going to need salt, a sodium-based sulfur. You are going to need other chelating agents like sodium thiosulfate, EDTA, sodium EDTA, because it doesn't break down. You have no way of breaking silica down. You do not have the acids to break it down. You don't have an acid in your body that can break it down. It can be broken down with silic acid, which if you took internally could burn a hole in you. Phosphorus can transport it into the cells, and so can other saponins. It can bind with the silica, and it can conduct it into the cells. So it is not something that you really want to be putting in your mouth. There's a lot of hocus pocus going on in this industry. You've been told it helps hair grow. You know, if you eat horsetail, eat a lot of horsetail, your hair will grow. It's not because of the silica content. It has nothing to do with the silica content. That was the attention that it got. If you actually look at horsetail has an abundance of other nutrients and minerals in it and proteins that can, again, nourish the system so that the hair can come back. It has nothing to do with silica. The silica that they're selling you today, the dimethyl and other products that have silicon in the silica gels, if you actually look at the research, you're going to be impressed to no end how much nonsense you've been told in this industry. A lot of things are being exposed as time goes on because the infiltration of nanotechnology, nanobiology, synthetic life is now affecting everybody. I want to bring your attention to YouTube. There's a guy named Patrick Roddie. He's from Scotland, and he was doing an interview, and he was saying exactly what I've been telling you for years about the nano. The title of the YouTube is "You Probably Have Carbon Nanotubes in Your Lungs Due to Geoengineering Chemtrails." I'll repeat that so you can go look it up. He was very clear about what was going on, and he was talking about Europe, what's going on in Europe. So don't think that Europe is getting it any better. And he mentions other countries are getting sprayed like Russia, China. This is a global phenomenon that's happening, and the whole earth is being sprayed with these toxic nano poisons that are coming from the sky, because these things are all on a nano scale. And these things have a program running them as well. So when you're looking at the content of this video, he pretty well says it the way it is. And again, I'll repeat, you probably have carbon nanotubes in your lungs due to geoengineering chemtrails. You can either type that or try Patrick Roddie and geoengineering, and it'll take you to that video, and you can hear another activist stating the same thing that I've been saying, and Brian 396 has been saying, or 369, sorry, Brian 369 has been saying all along on what's going on. So when you're looking at the Morgellons issue, it's not a biological agent all its own. It is a synthetic life. It's a convergence of nanotechnology with biology. And if you look at those links or the link there I showed you there with the nanotransformations, you're going to see the connections very clearly. You'll be able to... What happened? Okay. All right, we're back. You'll be able to see those connections very clearly in regard to what I'm talking about. More and more, I'm getting more and more emails on a daily basis in regard to this phenomenon with people having the afflictions. Just because you don't have the outward signs of the lesions and the markings on your body does not mean you do not have materials in you. Everybody who's breathing the air on this planet has been exposed. Everybody who's eating the food on the planet has been exposed. There is no organic. Anybody who still today in 2017 still believes that there's an organic crop out there today, I want what you're smoking. If you cannot look up above you and realize, even if you didn't believe what I'm saying, and you looked at that exhaust coming from the airplanes above you, it is coming down on the earth, raining across the planet, covering the food supply. That is just common sense. And that's not only that, but what the farmers are doing as well, even with the so-called organics. When you're looking at the organics, they are using glyphosates or spraying nanosilver on them. And when you look at what nanosilver does, it is, again, one of the most contemptible materials that they've released. I've said this before. As far as the feedback I have received from people who bought the products currently being sold in the health food industry today, every product that is being sold right now is on a nano scale. And that's based on the feedback I've got. People contacting the companies and asking them if the products they're selling are indeed nano. So again, when you're looking at what you're buying, scrutinize it very, very well. Make sure, if you're not sure about what you're buying, you contact these companies, ask them these questions that you need to ask so that you do not get sucked in. Like I said, I had one woman contact me with a product that she had been using. Like I said, I'll just call it SS. Again, you can figure it out or ascertain what it is. It was a protein-based bound nanosilver. After 2 months use, she wound up with rquire, which is basically a silver poisoning or an overload of silver. And so, she called me up to see what she could do to get it out of her system. This stuff is on a nano scale. This stuff is not going to be easily removed from the body. Contrary to what they tell you, it does translocate from the moment you breathe it in to the moment you swallow your food. To the moment you get exposed on the surface of the skin, it goes through everything at 1 to 50 nanometers. Anything above 100 nanometers will collect, aggregate, or agglomerate depending on the charge or the surface area where it will collect. It then starts to create what they call an ROS, radical oxygen. I forget what the S stands for right off the bat, but anyway, it causes oxidative damage on the cells. And as a result of that, you wind up literally being choked out. Your oxygen levels get depleted in the cells and they start to die. And then the particulates that are in the system start using your proteins to assemble networks in your system. This is by design. This is all by design. When you're looking at this element here, and you actually look at it from a historical perspective, you will find that a lot of the health issues we're dealing today, from cancer to autoimmune issues, respiratory issues, digestive disorders, intestinal disorders, is all tied to this. When you're looking at the way it works in the body, the way it terminates the system, the way it translocates and causes a high level of accumulation in certain areas of the system or throughout the system, and you find that all of a sudden these things happen, the fallout happened shortly after they introduced these things into the food supply. Okay, this is what's going on today. You know, anytime you see a new thing and the new advent that's coming on today, and it's coming on strong, again, so it can deceive a lot of you. They're now pushing nanotechnology in the medical field as the new panacea that's going to help you fight whatever's going on. If you get this inside your system, it's going to be a chore to get it out. It is an extremely difficult material to pull out of the body because of the high level of concentration that accumulates in the body. It's very, very difficult to get it out. It's not like you're going to be chelating a metal on a micron level, or a metal that might be even bigger than that. You are dealing with something that is on such a small scale and has such a high level of congestion and concentration in the cells, in the tissues, in the skeletal structure, in the organs, that it is a daunting task to pull this out. And when you get this stuff in you, he mentions this in the video, the frequencies that we're being exposed to from those towers activate us like an antenna. And they basically hit us with these frequencies that can cause severe anguish and pain. You have no idea what it feels like to have yourself feeling like you've been beat up all day long, all night long. And some people have it even worse, where the frequencies are activating the program in these nanos, where they're turning on their body temperature, turning it off, activating certain organs in the body, activating certain immune responses, or shutting that down. So when you're looking at some of the things that are going on today, this is where we're at. This is no longer science fiction. This is not something that you watched on TV and were entertained with. That's how they introduced it to you, so that you wouldn't be overloaded with shock and terror when it actually presented itself, and you wouldn't come out fighting either. Because, oh, you've seen it on TV and it didn't seem so bad. It seemed kind of benevolent. It seemed kind of, fantastic. And this is a three-way assault on your system. First, we disarm you. The disarmament comes from the grains you're eating and the foods you're eating, especially the grains, and the broad leafy vegetables. And I tell everybody all the time, if they want to use vegetables, they want to juice the vegetables, use the root base, not the surface. The surface will be coated with the nano stuff. It will penetrate the membrane fibers. It'll get right into the cellular matrix of the vegetable, and it will embed itself into the core of its genetic code. That's what it's designed to do. The roots will still have it to some level, but it will be filtered down on some level. You still will have to peel it. You're still going to have to, again, if you're going to juice it, you're still going to have to filter it. In one of the videos, we show you how to do that, where you take whatever you're juicing, you juice it, take the juice, put a teaspoon or a tablespoon of oil, depending on the volume of juice you get out, blend it for about a minute or two, then put the content either in a bowl or I got a grease container that has a lever where you can pull it, where it releases it from the bottom. Let it sit in the fridge, so while it separates, the oil will concentrate and congeal. As it congeals, it keeps the nanoparticulates contained in the fat. You will remove probably about 90 to 95, 96% of it that way, thereby reducing the re-exposure. And the problem, and then you'll be able to consume the juice. The problem with this condition is this. The reason why it's taking everybody so long to recover is because of the constant re-exposure. You have to detox on a daily basis. You have to use things that are going to protect you. You have to understand that the chemtrails alone have radioactive materials in them. That's not including the radiation you're exposed to on a daily basis from the electronic equipment that you're using, whether it's your cell phone, computers, microwave, television, radios, whatever. You need to detox and lower the levels of radiation in your body. And the simplest way to do that is to take a bath with borax and baking soda, which will strip the stuff out of your system. Keep in mind, like I said, internally. Now, he mentions about the women, and women are having more problems and getting more dementia issues in Europe because of the chemtrails. That's due to the aluminum. Men are having problems with that as well. But women are more affected by aluminum than males are. Oh, are we done? We're near the bottom? Where are we at? Oh, we're near the bottom. Okay, listen, come on back and we'll continue on that frame of thought. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. We're having, there was some dialogue going on in the chat room, so I decided to add what I thought to the conversation, and somebody already said that they already had thought of what I was thinking. Like minds think alike. When we're looking at this whole sequence with nanotechnology, nanobiology, you know, I do encourage everybody to go to the site. I do encourage you to start reading the stuff. Some of you are going to say, well, it freaks me out. You're better off being freaked out than dead. And dead by consumption, by technology. This is all about assimilating the human race or assimilating people. And it's causing major breakdown in your physiology and your biology and your biochemistry. It's also breaking you down on your genetic code and your DNA levels and your chromosomes. This thing doesn't fool around. This thing is designed to put in a huge, huge, huge body hurt on you, keeping you in a state of pain and anguish, and you do get hit with frequencies. Don't let anybody BS you on that one. You get hit hard. And you will get hit with thoughts that will depress you to no end. You will get hit with things that will terrorize you. You'll get hit with things that will cause high levels of anxiety or anxiety overload. This is what goes on with a lot of people that I get contacted with. A lot of you have been hearing about Lyme and other things. No worries. Some of you are hearing about Lyme. Lyme has become the new cancer. Everything that they want to depict or misdirect is all going to Lyme, because Lyme is easy. You can grasp a tiny little tick. But this is such a farce. This is such a hilarious farce, and it's such a corrupt farce because it's misleading a lot of you to get treatment for something that isn't going to work on this. And I have had people email me, contact me, saying they've got Lyme, and then they've had it for 10 years. Let me give you a heads up on Lyme, so you understand, what it's really all about. Okay. If you had a tick or a tick bite, a simple electrical stimulation on the body several times a day will eliminate this within a 5-day time frame. You will fry its central nervous system, you'll burn out the proteins and the poison, and it will shut it down. The body then will send enzymes and white blood cells to, again, take it apart and remove it. If it's a Lyme. If it's not a Lyme and you set a charge to it, electrical charge, or a spooky, or a rife, or a TENS machine, any direct hit on this tech will super hyper activate its assembling program. Ask me how I know. Anybody who we've told this to that didn't listen to us are suffering excruciatingly today. We tell people all the time, this does not work by the same principles of physics that other things do. This is a synthetic biology. It doesn't work. And if someone is telling you to go to a website, to listen to a frequency because the frequency is going to shoot this down, that is complete bullshit. That's a sabotage setup so that when you go there and you listen to that frequency, it further activates the spread of the programming in the system. Disregard these things, because you are going to hear a lot of stuff about how there's this and that, and you can run, they found this and they found a cure and they found this. You'll hear a lot of bullshit on this, and nobody's found a cure yet. It's going to be pretty difficult to cure this because you are constantly getting layered with it. If they weren't layering us so much, you could pull this stuff out probably within a year, beat the whole thing. But because you're constantly being inundated with it, your food supply, and if you think you're not getting it from the food supply, then I encourage you to go get a 60x scope. Because a 60x scope will pick it up, because it will, the 1 to 50 nanometer, it will not see. You will not see that material, because that will have already penetrated into whatever you're eating. But anything above 50 nanometers, or anything above 100 nanometers, you will start seeing it because it will congest. And if you are still not sure, go to buybluesky.com. Okay, buybluesky.com. Click on the health link. Then click on the nano more gallons link, and then scroll down, and you can see the pictures I have taken at an 800x magnification, and you can see the peaches are completely saturated with a metallic material. You can see the apples have been violated. You can see the pears have been violated. The bananas have been violated. The cherries have been violated. I tell people now not to eat any berries because the berries are saturated right to the core. If you want to juice the berries and filter them out with the oil filter, that's different. That's fine. Go with it. Unless some other new information comes through. Same with your apples, your pears. You cannot eat the skins anymore. The skins is another one of those things that they told everybody back in the day that was good for you because it had all the nutrients. That's not entirely true. They do have a high concentration of antioxidant material. They do have a high concentration of other things there as well. So yeah, so these things are not, again, what we were taught. Look at your food, examine it, start putting it under a scope. You know, and again, if you think I'm a little whacked out on this, then go listen to that video that I just told you, that YouTube. Another person is saying it. There's another guy, a guy named Diesel in Montreal. He actually has it blown up on a computer. You got guys out there that are still thinking this is just some simple biological advanced concept that they created out of a lab. It was created out of a lab. That is for certain. But again, it's not what they've told you. When you're looking at some of the things that they're telling you today, be aware that there's a lot of people out there trying to hijack you, trying to sabotage you, and trying to sell you stuff that has absolutely no value whatsoever. You know, and again, looking at, you know, dealing with this as long as I've been dealing with it, and now dealing with people with this thing, there's one woman that has sent me a email with pictures of her body, top to bottom. There's not much I haven't seen of this woman, and she is literally covered with nanotechnology, nanobiology. The back of her calf literally glows like spotlights on a billboard. She's got quantum dots on the back of her leg that are basically glowing, shining like a flashlight. This is real. This is real. You know, the reality of chemtrails coming down on you which is another part of this equation. The first part is I'm feeding you genetically engineered foods, genetically modified foods, foods that have high levels of contamination with nanotechnology and nanobiology, which is wiping out your immune system, stripping your body of key minerals and chemicals. Kind of reiterating this, so for those of you who've never heard this before, you're going to get the full banana, full enchilada. Second part of this equation is the chemtrails coming down here, which again are suffocating us and causing high levels of metal exposure, high levels of chemical exposure, high levels of exposure of even radiation. Because your immune system has been compromised, because your system has been reduced, these things then get inside the body, and again, because the glyphosates can strip out 8 or 9 different minerals of your body that are required to protect you, required to help you out, required to keep you in check, keep you balanced. Without boron, without iodine, without selenium, without zinc, without copper, you're wide open to just about anything under the sun, whether it be bacterial, viral, fungal, algae, or mold. Or anything that has a biocidal aspect to it, you are wide open. They give you antibiotics because the antibiotics doesn't do anything except further break up more bacteria in the colon, and it breaks down supposedly breaks down the biofilm. But the biofilm in the system that's there can, in fact, and will in fact, reject this, will not be affected by this, because again, it's part of our system. So it will develop an immune response to the antibiotics. So the antibiotics will have very little effect. Initially, you may feel some relief, but eventually the recoil or the blowback, it comes back with a vengeance. So those of you who are out there who are listening to me and have the nano poisoning, which have been called morgellons, and you're using antibiotics to contain the infections in the system, it will basically further expand in your body, and it will break you down worse than where you're at right now. And I've had people tell me this who have gone down that road. Okay, you need to deal with this accordingly. You need to break down biofilm, and there's lots of ways of doing it. Enzymes, amylase is one enzyme you want to use because it breaks down the sugar part of the biofilm. Proteolytic enzymes like trypsin, chymotrypsin, serrapeptase breaks up the protein aspect of this. These are things that bromelain and papain will as well. These are things you want to incorporate. You also want to incorporate the minerals I mentioned. Zinc and copper and zinc and manganese sustain and support the cellular integrity and the mitochondria. They both have a biofilm breaking effect. Using essential oils like thyme, oregano, savory, peppermint, spearmint, sage, thuja, pine. I'm trying to think of the other tree now. But anyway, these essential oils have biofilm breaking effect. Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. These are things you need to keep at home all the time. You can cut them, you can put 1 or 2 drops in a shot of brandy, vodka, rum, cognac, drink it down. The alcohol acts as a solvent which allows better penetration into the biofilm. You might be surprised what may be coming out of your liver. You might be surprised what might be coming out of your bladder and your spleen. Okay, you need to use these things. You need to use saturated fat, not omega-3s. Omega-3s break down the myelin, further damaging the myelin, opening your cells up for more infiltration. Things that can repair the myelin, which you need to start looking at, is oleic acid or oleamide, which you can buy anywhere online. Oleic acid, wheat germ oil, taurine all help in repairing the myelin sheet and can restore it back to normal. You need to start looking at working on your genetic code and your DNA. We got a couple formulas in the scripts of the show. I think they're in the April and January, February, or February, March script. Go check them out. There's some formulas there that can help you again, reverse the damage. This formula can restore 3,000 to 5,000 genes back to normal. When a double strands break in your body, in your DNA, this material starts to take over and replace those strands. It will grow and integrate itself into your DNA because it can use something called XNA, PNA, LNA, and GNA that can resemble your DNA, and your body will not reject it or fight it. And once it attaches itself to the system, then it incorporates its programming sequence to further assemble, replicate, and repair itself, just like your cells. That's the hideous nature behind what we're dealing with today. Okay, it's in the brain, it's in the respiratory issues, it's in the spine. How many of you have lower back issues? How many are feeling the aches and pains in your body, especially in the lower back? That's because your kidneys are trying to filter out a component that's so small and so dense and so concentrated that it's really working hard. This is why we came up with a bucket or a triangle, so that when you take a bath or got your feet in the bucket, it can actually pull out these materials and taking the load off the kidneys. Done daily, you can reduce the load in the system, or even done every other day, you can reduce the load in the system dramatically. But you have to replace in your body electrolytes, minerals like selenium, iodine, boron, manganese, potassium, magnesium, calcium. These need to be restored. If you're buying supplements to do this, try to buy them in powders and make up your own batch, because a lot of products you're buying today will have silicon dioxide, will have titanium dioxide, which both are very dangerous and lethal to the body, especially the male population. Titanium dioxide actually causes male sterility. It causes high level of testicular damage. This is why I believe a lot of males are unable to rise to the occasion of having erections, because with a damaged set of sacs, you can't function. Your body's too busy in repair mode trying to repair the tubes that have been damaged and shredded by this technology. It's got titanium dioxide in it. Don't be buying gum with titanium dioxide. Most gums today have all kinds of wonderful junk in them. Rat poisoning, stuff that would poison rats, stuff that would poison ants, neurotoxins, all kinds of aspartame, potassium, again, causes thymus cancer, aspartame, it's a neurotoxin. These things are in these things. They got everybody hooked on these foods and then changed the chemistry. Aspartame is one of the most addictive proteins that they combine as a sweetener. It keeps you craving sugar. Okay, and again, in order to offset that craving, so you can stop the progress on using these things, it depletes the body of zinc and manganese and potassium, which regulate insulin and sugar balance in the body. So you might want to be looking at 30 milligrams of zinc citrate, and you might want to be looking at manganese, 10 milligrams, doing these 3 or 4 times a day until your body starts to balance out. With manganese and zinc, you might also want to take arginine with them, because arginine increases the effect of manganese to be absorbed more readily. These can help a lot of you who have issues with fighting sugar. Now, if you are in that realm of vegan, your body's eating a lot of sugar. Whether it's a complex sugar or not, it's a lot of sugar. If you're eating rice, it's a simple sugar. If you're eating vegetables, it's a complex sugar. These things will have high levels of the nano in them. Can't wash it off. You can't strip it off. You can soak them in vinegar till the cows come home. You can soak them in whatever acid you like. You can soak them in a solvent. You will not get that stuff out. It is embedded. So if you're going to eat things and still sustain that, you need to go to the roots, and you might want to start using things like butter. Even though you say you're a vegan, you're better off becoming a vegetarian, because you're going to need that saturated fat. Coconut oil is good. Butter is just as good, pound for pound. If you do an active comparison between the two, they're almost identical in value. And if you make butter into ghee, it even has a better value than even the coconut oil. So again, these are things that I'm throwing out there so that you can start utilizing. If you've got children today, the kids today have absolutely no insurance whatsoever that they're going to be eating anything clean. None. Your best bet is to go to a farmer or a farmer's market and buy it directly from a farmer. Talk to these people you're buying them from. Make sure they are not spraying glyphosates, because I mean, even if they're not spraying it, the neighbor's blowover will still get to them. But at least you will stop a lot of the contamination in the process of the food going to market. Because by the time it goes from the farmer to the grocery store, it's now stored in silos that have the nanosilca in it. It'll have sulfurofluoride in these things, which are again storing the food, which contaminate your food. Then the food gets irradiated, then it gets processed, mixed with other foods that have different chemicals that they've used, which again can combine, and they all will have some form of glyphosates, so that even if you get the food from the farmer direct, it will be minimal to nothing compared to what you're buying at the store. Even when you're buying meat, look at the meat at the grocery store and then go to a farmer and buy the meat from them. What a difference in the cut. Same cut, one will be meat, one will be marble. That marble are the hormones and other antibiotics that they've put into the meat supply. So again, if you're going to get stuff, get it directly as much as you can. Get unpasteurized milk. Get milk with a full fat in it. You know, you want that fat. In the next couple of weeks, I will be presenting to you some of the actual research on milk and what they're using in certain components of milk and how beneficial milk is, instead of listening to these morons telling you how bad milk is and whatever stupid nonsense they tell you about people drinking milk. It's a food. It is a true superfood. The problem with milk is it's too good, and they had to attack it so they could sell you crap like spirulina, crap like blue-green algae, crap like forget the other one, chlorella. You don't need those things if you're drinking milk and coming from a grass-fed cow. Pound for pound, there's nothing out there that comes close to milk except eggs. You don't need to spend a whole boatload of money buying supplements from a health food store that you can get just from drinking a glass of unpasteurized milk. That's why it's attacked. Because if you start using that stuff, you'll actually see yourself repair. Some of you may put on weight again. That means your body's finally absorbing some stuff. So again, when we're talking regeneration, because this is going to be a constant cleanse and restore. This is going to be a daily, or like I say, bi-daily aspect here. So again, you're going to need anything that you can to help rebuild the body. So don't allow anybody to BS you with something that can really be good for you. Okay, before I go on, the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Support them, keep them afloat, keep them going, so you can get shows like myself and other podcasters that can come out here and tell you what you need to hear to help you get through the day. You got Bye Bye Blue Sky and Bernadette and Gag Canada, Bernadette Green with Gag Canada, Bye Bye Blue Sky with Susan Marr. Again, two activists in Canada, two people who are very concerned about what's going on in our skies. You might want to check out their sites, gagcanada.com and byebybluesky.com. Check them out, check out the site, check out the information. You're going to find yourself very educated and very informed by going to these sites, and if you can help them out, volunteer your assistance any way you can. You got me down here, 519-977-5351. I have a site, augmentinforce.com. There you'll see a catalog link. Click on it. You'll see a whole variety of things in the catalog, which I'm going to try to update hopefully by this weekend, where you'll see the things that are there that can help you, again, get this stuff out of your system. And if you can't afford it, that's okay. Go on my YouTube channel, either Tony Pantelleresco or Herbs Plus Beadworks, and we show you how to build your own devices so that you can purge your body from this material. So either way, go check it out. Do what you can, help in any way you can, and go from there. initially, like I said, you need to get this stuff out. So for more information, call me at 519-977-5351 or send me an email, independz@yahoo.com. Okay, feel free to check out the site. Anything on my site, again, feel free to download. I don't need your Oh, we're on? Okay, no, I didn't hear no music. Okay, hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, come up with some ideas, solve some issues. I also am published on several websites. www.health-access.com, buyebluesky.com, and several other sites throughout the internet, so feel free to check those sites out, with articles on health, remedies, and general information going on worldwide and right here at home. This program is designed to help you keep your health and to show viable and inexpensive alternatives that can keep you and your family healthy, to alleviate or remove unwanted illnesses that may occur in our lives from time to time, making you aware that not all that's supposed to be safe is, and in some cases allowing you to understand the hidden dangers and possible solutions, prevention, or protection of your health. I've been in the health food industry as well as a personal consultant and bodybuilder trainer, assisting people finding health solutions, and have utilized different healing modalities from different cultural themes, as well as in herbs, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and foods. You can access me by going to my website at augmentinforce.com, AUGMENTINFORCE.com. I also do personal consultations as well, whether through the internet, through the IMs, phones, personal visits, as well as in-house workshops for families, individuals, or groups. On the augmentinforce.com page, there's a catalog link, which I'm going to try to update. The catalog link will have different things on there. They'll have t-shirts, we'll have the bucket. I thought it had it there, but it doesn't. But the bucket will be there, the flash drive, and DVD books on DVD, as well as other things that can help you. So feel free to peruse, check it out. If there's anything you need, give me a shout, send me an email. You also have a flash drive there, 32 gig flash with 30 gigs of information. You've got on the radio shows, interviews, books, databases, videos, all in one. So you can also get a hold of me here at 519-977-5351 or contact me via email at independz@yahoo.com, INDEPENDZ@yahoo.com. If you have any questions or comments on the show, feel free to make them pertaining to the subject matter. The number is 208-935-0094. Today's date is July 22nd, 2017. I want to start off the show, let everybody know that on the Augment Enforce site, there's a couple new links there. For more information, feel free to email me at independz@yahoo.com, INDEPENDZ@yahoo.com, and also you can contact me here at 519-977-5351. I also do consultations as well. So again, if you need a consultation, send me an email and we'll see if we can get you started. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make on the show pertaining to the show, feel free to do so at 208-935-0094. And today's date again is July 22nd, 2017. This is part 2. I want to continue on the theme that I've been talking about in regard to nanotechnology, you're being violated by nano, how the whole structure of nano, like I said, is doing things to you. that, you know, you're not aware of. Some of you are having issues in regard to anxiety thoughts, fear thoughts, seductive thoughts, thoughts that are playing like a video camera, thoughts that are what you may consider possibly some kind of fantasy thoughts, or thoughts of, again, dramatic thoughts that play in your head, and all of a sudden you get sucked into that emotion. A lot of that is being piped into your head. A lot that's coming right directly through your head. A lot of times I get emails to ask me, Tone, you got anything for tinnitus? I tell everybody there's nothing wrong with your hearing. You don't have tinnitus. What you've got going on is you're hearing those towers going off morning, noon, and night at different times, at different pitches, at different frequencies. And you're going to find that at certain times when the frequency is really elevated extremely high, that's when the weather in your area is changing. You may get a storm, you may get a heat wave, you may get a drought, you may get a flood of hail, you may get a flood of snow. That is because the weather is being modified with these frequencies, and these frequencies are coming from these towers. And what's happening is you're hearing these frequencies. And so some are saying, well, what happened? What about people in the past? The people in the past started hearing the antenna frequencies when AM and FM were brought into the scene. Prior to the 50s, people were not having these issues. The 60s came along and rock and roll was making its debut. All this rock and roll was all about frequency. While you were listening to the song, these antennas were going up and they were pumping out frequencies. We didn't have these issues, again, prior to the 60s. A lot of things, if, like I said, you start peeling back and going back in time, you're going to find that every decade when there was a change, an introduction to some kind of tech, that's when people started having health issues. Smart meters are causing traumatic issues with people because the high-pitched frequencies are going through the house. Some of you are not even aware that your house may be a hub, where it's like a central hub where the whole neighborhood's readouts are going through your hub, which can increase the impact of the frequency, which is being sent to the power companies or wherever it's going. Keep in mind, this is, nothing is what it used to be, and I've been telling people for a while, either get some paint, copper sulfate, and paint the inside of your house with copper, and the outside with lead-based paint. Get some lead, buy some lead powder, mix it into a gallon of paint. You're probably going to need about 12 to 14 ounces per gallon, and I put a little canola oil with it and mix it up. What happens, the canola oil will bind with the lead and whatever, and then you'll be able to paint it on the house, and it'll penetrate, because canola oil is a penetrant, which will take that lead deeper into the wood. You got to start thinking in terms of how can you defend yourself. When you go outside, you're going to work, and you're driving your vehicle, you're going grocery shopping, going to school, or whatever you're doing in life. Once you're outside, you're fully exposed. And you're getting hit full on with frequencies. You pull out that phone, the phone is beaming you in the head. If you don't have a shielding mechanism for your phone, it is constantly sending out pulses, hitting you in the head and hitting your genetic code, breaking it down. There are things out there, we got them here at the shop, where basically it's a dual pocket shield. The one pocket you put it in, it actually blocks any transmission coming into that phone. The second shield leaves only one side open. So you would put the shielding against your body, leaving the unshielded area outside facing out, so that the signal can only come in one way. It can't go through your body. It has to go to the phone. It zeroes in on the phone. So these are things you need to start considering. If you're going to play with this tech, you're going to have to learn how to neutralize this tech, or how to use things so that you're not being influenced and damaged by the tech. These are things, again, you can again start to look at, because that's the world we're living in today. We're living in an AI world. We're living in a world that is being manufactured like a computer simulation program. The assimilation process is going on daily with people who are getting saturated more and more with this nanotechnology and nanobiology, synthetic life, than ever before. And as a result, people are now becoming more and more... How many of you can't remember anything? How many of you will walk not even 3 steps and can't remember what the heck you were doing? How many of you go completely blank when you're having a conversation? All of a sudden, you don't know what you're talking about. That's the frequencies. That's the aluminum. That's the barium. That's the titanium dioxide. That's the nanosilver. That's the cadmium. That's the neurotoxins that you're consuming with these artificial sweeteners. The neotame and aspartame. You know, so, how many are feeling uncoordinated? That could be coming from the Splenda. It's a chlorinated sugar. It's affecting the spine and the kidneys. Like I said, it's a combination of things. It's not just one thing. And when you're looking at sustainability, you have to start thinking in terms of your personal sustainability and what you need in today's times, not 1970. You're a vegan back in 1970, you might have got away with it, not today. If you're a raw meat food eater, don't think because you're eating raw foods that you're any safer. It's not the same like it was back then. We are inundated with this material, and unless you can purge it out of the foods before you eat it, you are going to be taking it in. That's the way it is, and there is no safe food. If you think because you're eating raw, you're safe, you're completely out to lunch. If you're a vegan thinking you're eating something clean and whole because you don't want to eat an animal, God forbid you eat an animal, oh, okay. Well, it's because of you vegans, and I'm going to tell it to you straight on. It's because of you vegans that they're using these genetically engineered chemicals and modified chemicals, because they got to plant more stuff in the ground now because everyone's going against the cow. I'll tell you something that Canada did to interrupt that frame of thought. This is what the Canadian government did. Canadian government went and asked the general population what type of foods they want to eat. This is basically a survey type question to see how much they've influenced people to believe in the bullshit, the total bullshit of veganism. So people said that they wanted to eat more vegetables. And I listened to this and I thought, they asked to a brain dead community who have absolutely no idea of nutritional value and have absolutely no idea what's in the food, what's being sprayed, and what's inundated, what has genetically clung together. So when you're looking at this kind of questionnaire, and the government, and they bragged about it. The government bragged about it. So now the government is going to go out of their way to plant more vegetation material so they can put more sprays on the ground. And this is the oxymoron here behind the whole thing. When you're saying that you don't want to eat an animal because it's being abused and it's being, whatever it is, your argument is about that, nobody's questioning that. Nobody's saying that, there are humane ways of killing the livestock. And again, that's what I'm saying, go to your local farmer or whatever. But basically, this is straining a gnat and swallowing a camel. The earth is being blistered to death with these bloody chemicals. And on top of that, it's being fumigated with chemtrails. And that is being pulsed with these frequencies from these towers. So the earth is being butchered left, right, and center, but that's okay as long as you can have your lettuce and your frickin' kale and everything else. But, God forbid, you eat a cow who will eat the grasses, crap out his backside. What's coming out with the bacteria and the fiber there will replenish and replace in the earth what the earth needs to heal the earth and to keep the earth going. This I find incredibly naive. And then they sell you on this bullshit about the greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases we're dealing with are those chemtrails that they're releasing in the sky, and the stuff that's been coming out of these factories for the last 50 years that have no scrubbers, no filtering devices, nothing, and they cover that up by distracting people with this nonsense. It's complete, utter rubbish. And when you're looking at this concept here. This is where common sense has to come in. Don't just follow the program. I always tell you, even check out what I'm telling you. Don't just listen to something on NBC, ABC, CBS, or whatever bloody channel you're watching and believe these guys. These guys are liars. They're professional liars. That's why they call them actors. Your weatherman isn't giving you the weather. He's forecasting what they're going to bring into your environment. He's telling them, okay, or telling us what they're going to do in our environment. How many times have you heard, rain is coming. Today, forecast for today is rain. You're going to get rain. And it doesn't happen. Well, isn't that interesting? And this is going on more so than ever before. Oh, we're going to have a thunderstorm. We're going to have blah, 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 and all. And nothing happens. Does that ever occur to you that what's going on here? One time I was at my mom's in the U.S. and I was watching the weather pattern coming through Jackson, Michigan. It was coming out of Ohio and Indiana, and the storm was coming right toward Detroit, right toward and going across. And when it hit Jackson, Michigan, all of a sudden the storm split in two. Like something put a wedge between the storm front and split it in two. One went south and one went north up toward Lansing and Flint and kept going toward London, Ontario, and right across into Buffalo. And the other one kept going further south. And I told my mom, I said, take a look at that. To see what just happened there. The storm was moving at a good velocity, good movement, and all of a sudden it split right there. Why did it split there? There's no body of water. There's nothing there that could possibly affect it, like a lake or stream or river. It just happened to split. That's frequencies. If you go on to YouTube, you can actually see them playing with a HAARP technology in the ocean, where they created a tight funnel, maybe a foot in circumference, that they fired from the sky, and it hit the ocean where a pod of dolphins were, and it fried them, literally. Your whales are being beached left, right, and center because their signals from these frequencies is disrupting their guidance system in their brain. But they tell you some kind of hocus pocus on the TV, and you fall for it. You see, you think, oh, those poor whales, see, oh, they lost their mind. Something interrupted their brain cells or their brain function. Something caused that to disrupt. The whales today and the seafood and the ocean life today is consuming high levels of metal components coming from industrial areas. They're finding that the whales over in the Pacific around China and Australia way are having high levels of cadmium, high levels of what was the other one? Chromium, high levels of other industrial metals that they never had before. So when they get hit with a frequency, because it operates the same way that we do, it hits because they've got the metals embedded into their blubber. And now it's affecting their central nervous system, and it's causing them to go awry. Same with the dolphins. We're having dolphins that are beaching themselves. Why would they have this? These are one of the most sophisticated animals on the planet. They use 20% of their brain. They use more of their brain than we do. 20%. And they are beaching themselves. Why is that? Well, because they lost their way? Because their compass broke or their barometer broke? Tsunami threw them off course. A vortex underneath the earth opened up and threw them over into the wrong section. The fantasy and the fiction. Another word for it is bullsh. I can't say the full word, but you get what I'm saying. This is what look at our bees. Look at our bees. Our bees have a homing device of their own. They can go anywhere in the field and come back to their hive, and they're dying. So first they're blaming the neonicotinoids killing the bees. I said from the word get-go that was BS. It would have had an impact for sure. But what's killing the bees is the chemtrails coming down from the sky, embedding themselves into the pollen. The bees are now consuming that material or being exposed to that material, and because it's on a nano scale, it's bypassing and penetrating their bodies, getting into their brain, because it does translocate, and as soon as they turn on a frequency, these bees have lost direction. They have no idea where they're going. And then they die. So a lot of times when you're hearing some of the stuff on TV, try to put 2 and 2 together and don't get caught up on the drama. Don't get caught up on the theatrics there. Oh, the poor bees. Oh, we lost so many. Oh, it's a serious situation. It is a serious situation, because without the bees, we die. Without them pollinating the earth and sustaining the life on the planet, guess what? We're not that far behind. And I will tell you another thing. If we start seeing the sparrow population going, we're next. We are next. That's where we're at today. So you're not going to get this on mainstream news. You will never get this on mainstream news. Never. The sparrow is one bird that's indigenous throughout the planet. It's in Australia, it's in New Zealand, it's in Russia, it's in China, it's in India, it's in Pakistan, it's in Ukraine, it's in Romania, it's in Yugoslavia, or what was left of Yugoslavia, it's in the United Kingdom, it's in France, it's in Germany, Italy, throughout Africa, South America, North America, United States, Canada, Alaska. If we see that bird starting to go down, guess what? Now we got some serious contemplating here to do. So I would encourage you to become more active in what's going on today, because this is the reality we're in today. We're no longer in 1970. We're no longer in 1960. 1960 is when they initiated a lot of this stuff. And look where we are at after 57 years. We've got more people sick than we've ever had. We got more people with mutations than we've ever had. When you look at a kid today who's between any age actually today, and you see them already physically distorted, or you're seeing a young girl at 5 and 6 years old already having development happening. See the backside already starting to look like a woman's butt that's fully developed. At 6 or 7 years old, you know the genetics are being altered. When you see a young male boy who now has breast, got hips, got a butt like a girl, you know that there's been some kind of genetic distortion going on. When you're seeing young males, young females walking down the street and they have excess mass and distorted mass on their personage, you know that they have had some kind of genetic exposure. And a lot of these kids today are suffering from high levels of respiratory issues, high levels of digestive disorders, high level of diabetes at a young age. What is damaging their organs? What is altering their physiology? What is affecting their normal genetic development that they should be developing? When I was a kid, many ancient years ago, when we grew up, we had muscle. We played sports. We didn't play with phones. We didn't play with computers. We had muscle. We were lean, very muscle, very packed. The women were very racked. Whoop. We were racked, stacked, and packed. The women were in my day. When they walked, they were tight, they were packed, they had a sway. They were balanced for the most part. I mean, you saw the odd one that wasn't, but for the most part, they were all pretty balanced. Their genetic code wasn't being violated. Women were being experimented on and exploited like no end. But again, when you looked at the difference between those kids, my generation, the 50s generation, when we grew up, and the kids today, it's like night and day. What we ate back then, what we were exposed to back then, what they're exposed to today is a totally different world. We were getting hit with frequencies back in the 60s with the AM and FM antennas, but they were nowhere near the intensity that they are today, and now they want to build 5G. 5G. Now, why would they want to go with 5G? Ever think about that for 1 minute? 5G. Is it so that you can have a better phone reception? They don't really care about you, so why would they care about you having a good connection? Unless the connection is there to access you. You've got all this nano material in your body, throughout your body, your brain, your spine, your stem of your neck, your muscles, your shoulders, your organs. You'd be very easy to send a signal to a more effective means of sending a signal through to your body that can now stimulate all kinds of unwanted characteristics to happen. It's an easy way to wipe out a population in any center that they want to target. That's what's going on. It would be better if everybody took their cell phones and literally caved them in. You know, just caved them in. Just read something here. Hold on a second. So anyway, when you're looking at these events going on right now, you may, like I said, start to think in terms of what's really happening. Don't get sucked into the La La Land, the Disney World channel, you know, on NBC, ABC, or CBS. They're not going to tell you anything. In fact, they're going to show you everything's nice and rosy, everything's okay, all right with the world. Yeah, we have some issues going on, you know, with the Muslims. We got some issues going on in the Middle East. We got some issues going on, but for the most part, we've got it pretty good. This is the indicator that they're telling you to keep you asleep and to keep you stupid. You know, these cell phones have been a bane. Look at your kids today. Their attention span's all about 3 seconds because they're too busy on that phone. And they're always looking to text, type, or communicate with that phone. They can't let that phone go. They can't put it down. Why is that? Why is that? You know, why can't they put that phone down? Heck, we had a dial up and we had to push button phones, you know. And as soon as we hung up, we put the thing down and we took off and did whatever we were going to do. You know, and then we got the answering machine, so if you want to leave a message, left a message, and when you came home, you'd call up whoever. Okay? But the phone was not a priority in life. Everybody didn't have I still don't have a cell phone. Don't want one. You know, but everyone's got to have that thing with them, boy. You got to have it. You got to have it. You got to have it. You know, and this is, again, technology that's accessing you. You think you're accessing it, it's accessing you, and it's programming you, believe it or not. So when you're looking at these things today, you have to look at them with a certain level of clarity, because if you're not looking at these properly, you are going to wind up in a position where all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and you've been lobotomized. You won't know who you are, what you are, but the phone will tell you. The phone will tell you what to do. The phone will tell you where to go. The phone will tell you how to do it. This is where it's headed. The next generation, I've talked about this, when we're talking about genetic damage to the human race, we got now transgenders. Transgenders. We never had a transgender back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. You know, we had a homosexual element for sure, which came out of, you know, which we saw really get exploded back in the mid-1970s, early 80s, coming from Haiti. And we understand now, looking back, that they were exposed to high levels of atrazine or other endocrine disrupting chemicals that created that issue. But today we have a transgender. We have a girl growing up thinking she's a boy. We have a boy growing up thinking he's a girl. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that picture? And now we have governments trying to tell us that we can no longer genderize. Come on back and we'll continue on that thought. See you in a bit. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pentel-Rusco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. We left off with talking about genetics, talking about how we have a condition going on today on a global level where, you know, we've got people who, think in terms of, they don't know who they are, what they are. They have no concept of, you know, their gender. And now if you even make mention of their gender, they may feel offended or feel threatened or whatever. So now the government has passed some kind of rules and regulations, again, to their code, because it's not a law, it's a code, really. They're calling a law, that you cannot no longer specify a gender. Now, I find that a little interesting, and I think you should as well, because as we grew up, a male had certain qualities and characteristics, and a female had certain qualities and characteristics. But today, because those qualities and characteristics are no longer working the way they should because of some alteration that has occurred over a period of time, then we now can't say this person's a woman or a male. And this is going to open up a whole can of worms, literally. You know, instead of, because see, this now takes the load off the government. This takes the load off the medical field. So they now can't get sued. This takes the load off the corporations that have created the GMOs, that created the genetically engineering of foods. This takes the load off of them so they cannot be litigated against. Because when you got something that corrupt, something had to change. Something had to be put into the system somewhere, some way, somehow. And we already know that atrazine can alter the genetic code of the endocrine system. We already know this. That's all over the place. You can look at the actual research by the researcher who did the research for Syngenta. Now, China has bought Syngenta. Bayer has bought Monsanto. So now if you go to try to sue Monsanto, there is no Monsanto. It's Bayer that you'd have to sue. So this is what they've done. You know, this is a game. And again, if you follow what's going on, you can interpret this correctly. You know, just to kind of blindly or blithely just, you know, listen to something and that's all you hear. You know, oh, they just bought this. Oh, they just bought that. Oh, yeah, China got this. Oh, Germany got that. Oh, yeah. And you know, because Monsanto's been trying to get into Europe for decades. And the Europeans have been getting genetics. This is without question. They just weren't getting them from Monsanto. But they were buying Monsanto's seed. And they were planting that seed to feed that crop to the animals, which then were being fed to the people. So the genetic disarrangement of the soil was still going on. Plant a seed, a genetically engineered seed in the soil, changes even the bacterial structure of the soil. So when you're adding these things to the land anyway, you're altering the landscape. And you still had other corporations there like IG Farben and Bayer that were, again, putting GMOs in the ground. And then there were other companies too like BASF and Dow and everybody else. Pfizer. So they weren't, it wasn't any better in Europe either. You know, it just was hidden better. They knew the Europeans were up in arms over it, and they just sort of kept it low key. And this is where we're at today. Now, China, India are having their fair share of exposure to the same nanochemistry or nanogenetic chemistry that we're getting today, except now it's more refined. They already had the trial run with Canada, United States, and Europe, and now it's being exported to Asia. Let's wipe out those Asians. Let's wipe them. Let's change their genetic code. Let's really screw them up. You know. So again, you know, this is the reality we live in. So again, you got to start thinking. If I'm going to a grocery store and I'm going to go buy my food from a grocery chain, okay, you know bloody well that there's been irradiation, there's been spraying, there's been dusting in the silos, dusting in the containers. There has been some kind of component being put in the storage that, again, these foods are absorbing. And then if you're getting, let's say you are getting an organic food, let's just say, you know, somehow, some way it does get through, which, again, I don't have, a belief in 1 minute that that actually will happen. But for those of you who still have this illusion, let's say it does get by. Then it gets mixed with the other food supply. There goes your organics. There it goes. And you got to remember, don't think for 1 minute that they will keep it separate. And don't think for 1 minute that they're selling an supposed organic product, they won't mix non-organics with it. That has gone on. Even with this, I forget what it's called, down in South America, where they're trying to make sure that they get a fair, something fair. Anyway, it's about keeping parity and fairness for what they're doing and giving them almost a standard of wages that would be equivalent to what we're doing here. I forget what it's called now. But again, don't think for 1 minute that that isn't being done. And I've talked to people in that market as well, and they told me, yeah, if they want an organic coffee and they're short on the supply, guess what? They mix something else with it. That's the reality. I mean, and again, you might think, and it may shock you, and it may stun you, and I think the shock and the stun is because you have an unrealistic expectation of today's safety margin. We don't have it. If you even look up the USDA, the history of the USDA, and if you can't find the research, send me an email, independz@yahoo.com. I will send you that document explaining how the USDA started hijacking the food supply in the United States starting around 1910, around that time, or 1904, somewhere in that time frame. They began to diminish the food supply. We've gone a long way since then. And now the food supply has been adulterated with not only genetics, but with nanotechnology as well. And that's where it's at. And again, if you still think for 1 minute that you're getting some kind of whatever, then I will issue you a very mild challenge. Go get yourself a 60x ocular scope. Take it with you to any grocery store, and I don't care which one you go to. Want to go to Whole Foods? Go to Whole Foods. If you want to go to your local supermarket, go to your local supermarket. Go wherever you want to go. So check it out. Look at the stuff through the scope. See what you got. Take it home. Take a brush. Take a scouring pad. You scour the stuff. Look at your apples. They will be sealed with the nano in the skin. And no matter how hard you scrub, it will be embedded in the skin. Same with the pear. Bananas, you can peel them. Take off the peel. You will have a coating on the inside. It goes right through the skin. It goes right through. When you go into a supermarket, look at your tomatoes, look at your potatoes, look at some of the pears coming from China. Look at those black spots. Look at those brown, freckled, speckled material. Now on the outside, it looks like maybe whatever it could be, or whatever you want to call it, bruising, a little dirt, and a little something. But look at that stuff under a scope. Look at it under a scope. Then see what you're seeing. You might see fibrous materials growing out, wires sticking out. You might see chips of material, metal, shiny stuff sticking in there, embedded. You might see a thread that looks like a thread that's basically moving along the skin. That's a fullerene, a nano fullerene that is now assembling. Okay, look at when you're going to the grocery store, look at the chickens because they're wrapped up in plastic, but sometimes you may actually see a fiber on that chicken. That ain't a feather. Looks like a string or a rope. That is not a string or a rope. That is a fullerene. Look at the stuff. Face it. Don't run from it, because if you run from it, all you're going to wind up doing is, if it doesn't get you now, it definitely will get you later, because it will accumulate and aggregate in your system. There's no question that it'll do this. Okay, there's no running, there's no hiding, there's no sticking your head up your backside, there's no sticking your head in the sand. You've got to face this head on, and you have to realize that it's going to take a concerted effort from everybody to get this insanity to stop. The food supply is your main thing. The ecosystem that exists today, the environmental systems that exist today, have to be cleaned up, and the onus should fall on the groups like Monsanto, Syngenta, Symbis, BASF, Dow, DuPont, Nestle's. These companies are the ones that put the stuff in the environment. They're making billions and billions off of everybody because the government is protecting them. They should be the ones to clean it up and restore the damage they've done. Okay, and this is going to take a concerted effort by everybody to make that happen. When you're talking what happened in Canada, about 15 years ago or so, to a farmer in Saskatchewan, which was again unconscionable that the government of Canada actually ruled against a man whose farm was exposed by a truck driving down the road with a tarp that wasn't tarped down. And the seed got on his property, and instead of remuneration coming from the company for polluting his property, the farmer was charged for having their technology on his land. This is insanity. You can't move the property. You can't lift it off the earth while the truck is driving by. But this is the insane, and the farmers up there, shame on them. They should have stood with that farmer and fought this. They should have stood with that farmer and fought this. They could have driven Monsanto out of Canada. Today, now we're stuck with them. For now. Or should I say Bayer. So again, that's my point here. Because everybody didn't do anything. If there's a big tiff going on in an area, they're going to walk away. They know nobody's going to want this stuff. And the farmers need to be educated further. Because they've been handed such a line of bullshit, it's not even funny. And they think their profit margins are going to be wonderful and great because they can grow this food and they can have a higher volume and a higher yield. And as a result, they can make more money. There's that greed factor involved. And again, I understand that because farming is not an easy profession. But what you've got going on there is basically these farmers are being utilized in the poisoning of a nation or poisoning of a country or poisoning of a state or province. The education has to be there. And like I said, the cleanup of removing just the glyphosates alone that's in the soil is going to require a huge undertaking because it takes 8 years to break down. And it's been going into the soil for over 30 years, so do the math. We're talking about 240 years before the earth will be restored, unless some activity happens where they can pull it out faster. So again, we're not living in 1970 anymore. We're not living in those days. And to further take this to another level, just because you see people on the internet having lesions and skin issues and other things going on, and saying that they've got some kind of nano poisoning or Morgellons or whatever they're calling it, and you're not seeing these things happen, but you're having some of the symptoms, or whether you've got brain fog or pain or whatever, you might want to look at it. When people contact me with the email and they show me some of the markings on their body, I write back, that's nano poisoning. Some people freak, which is understandable. Some people want to go into a denial factor, then they go to a doctor to get some kind of antibiotic or cream or whatever, and it doesn't go away. It comes back even worse. So I'm going to tell you as well, leave all grains alone. Leave even the pseudo grains alone, like your quinoas, leave your millets, your buckwheat, leave them alone. Any bread, any grain, even the gluten-free nonsense, they tell you it's gluten-free. This is, again, where people don't thinking. If it's gluten-free and we take the protein out of that bread has been genetically engineered. Or it has been genetically modified. Because you're taking something that's normally and naturally in the grain, and now you've removed it. You've created something other than bread. Now, the gluten was never a problem until they started genetically engineering the wheat. And the wheat has been modified over 300 times. Don't let anybody BS you that wheat has never been touched. That's a lot of horse hockey. People never got sick eating bread made of wheat. In my day, we used to eat it all the time. Nobody ever got sick. Nobody had any allergies. That came later, around the 1980s. All of a sudden, gluten-free made the big stink. Gluten-free. Oh, you can eat your gluten-free bread. We're still genetically engineered, but hey, you could eat it. And you could eat it with safety. And the issue you got to also recognize is this. If you eat a genetically engineered bread, you eat a genetically engineered cereal, you eat a genetically engineered rice, you eat a genetically engineered corn, you eat a genetically engineered soy, or you eat a component that has all those things in it, what are you really eating? And what is that really doing to you? Now, take it to the next level. Now let's spray some nanoparticles on it. Let's spray some nanosilver. Let's put an organosilicate in it that has nanotechnology in it. What's that doing now? Genetically altered the plant. Now we've altered it again by adding this component, which affects the DNA and the genetics of the plant. Wow, what are we getting? What are you actually eating? Is this stuff assembling in that fiber because of the carbon content? And if it is it spreading through the plant? And if you're eating it, what's that doing to you? Is it transferring its programming into you? These are things that make you go, or bump in the night. Okay? You need to not shut your eyes anymore. You need to open them up, and you need to start using the gray matter. You know, there are things you can do to neutralize some of this. There are things to do to detox yourself from it. You know, and you have to recognize that this is the necessity that's required. Because if you're not going to do anything, this thing will break you down. There's a guy I've seen on the YouTube, and this guy is, you can see he's in complete denial, and you can see how badly broken down he is. He came out and started talking about using antibiotics, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And the guy is asking for it. It's going to come back in such a vicious hit. You know, it's going to cripple this guy. You know, and you know, he ain't listening to anything else, so carry on. You'll find out the hard way. And that's how it's going to be for some of you. You're going to go down that doctor thing. You're going to see the medical. They're going to give you all kinds of creams, antibiotics, and whatnot. And then you're going to see a little slight change, and then it's going to go bad fast. And it's going to be worse than what you started with. Because all they're doing with these chemicals is suppressing the program. They're suppressing the component. Once this stuff creates a biofilm in the body, once your biofilm is created on the material will start using your biofilm as building block to spread itself. That's how it works. When you see these pictures on the YouTube and on the different sites, and you got this gelatinous material, that's your biofilm covering, encasing the nanotechnology in the system. And the majority of it is going to be a carbon nanotube or a carbon particle, which again is graphene. And it assembles. And there is absolutely no resistance with graphene. You can fire whatever form of energy you want, light, electrical, magnetic, heat, and it's a complete 100% connection. No resistance. And that's what's assembling. So like I said, it's time to take an active position in your research. And then start learning what to do to start pulling this stuff out, keeping it down at a reduced level until we get the planet back, till the planet is restored to humanity. Real humans, people that are from this planet, people that care about this planet. You are going to be dealing with this for a long, long time. And if you've already been afflicted and infected, you can reduce it down to where you can live I don't know what's a normal life anymore, but you can live a more manageable life until again somebody comes up with a real solution to knock this thing out. So far, what we've been given will drastically reduce the load, will drastically help you recover a great deal of your health back. As far as it being a cure, I can't make that claim, but I can say it can make a drastic difference in helping you. That I can tell you. And again, it's key that you pay attention to this technology. Like I said, go to my website, augmentinforce.com. Look at the May-June link that's put up and look at nanotransformation. It will start you off in the direction you need to go. Okay, so check it out. All right, before I go any further, I'm always encouraging you to support the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Support them, keep them afloat, keep them going, help them out, keep the station running. That's my mantra, I guess, to keep them going. Because again, you're not going to get this kind of information from the local radio station, and you're not going to get it from mainstream. So you may as well support a network that is going to give you the information. This is my thinking anyway. Okay, you got byebyebluesky.com with Susan Meyer, and you got Gag Canada with Bernadette Green. Again, these are two sites, two places, two activists that are very active in Canada trying to get an awareness factor out so we can do something about what's going on up there, making the changes required so that we can live on a healthier planet. The planet is being slaughtered. The planet is being fumigated. The planet is being destroyed. Okay, and it's going to be up to us to make it happen as far as making the changes required. So again, support them if you can. Go to their sites, help them out any way you can. Byebyebluesky.com, Susan Meyer, and Gag Canada with Bernadette Green. I'm always telling you to support the local farmers. There's a couple here on my site. You can check them out. You've got, oh geez, I slipped my head here. Support your local farmer in your area. Check them out. Talk with them. Work with them. Seeing about getting a local food supply coming from your local farmers. That would be by far the best thing you could do to sustain and keep your family at the most optimum health you can. Nothing is going to be pristine and completely clean. When you wake up to that reality, then you'll start doing things, taking measures to filter out and neutralize your food. So again, check it out. Natural Earth Organics in my area here in Essex County. She shops at the farm. She gets the farm supply. Check her out. Check out your local farmers. Then you got me down here at 519-977-5351 or independz at yahoo.com. I got a website, augmentandforce.com. There's a catalog link. Access the catalog link. Look and see what's there. If there's anything of any interest, feel free to send me an email, let me know what you want. There's the flash drive, 32 gig with 30 gigs of information. It's there. We got books on DVD, separate books. It's also there. We also have t-shirts, and eventually I'll have the bucket and the triangle in there as well. If you go on the main page of that site, augmentandforce.com, there is a nano bucket link right on the main page in the directory of contents section where I'm showing you how to make that bucket. So again, if you can't afford it, don't worry about it. Make the bucket. That's what I would tell you to do. Start utilizing that. And as time goes on, we'll show you more and more ways to make your bucket more effective. All right. Again, feel free to give me a shout, 519-977-5351, or send me an email, independz at yahoo.com. And I also do consultations as well. So if you need a consultation, we can go down that road. All righty. Take the bull by the horn. Take the initiative. Don't run from this. There's nowhere to run. Start looking at the stuff. Start doing the research. All right, listen, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Check out the sites. Check out the nanotransformation. Check out the new links. And again, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Get networking. All right, talk to you in a bit.